for what matters most this Christmas. Plan ahead for 2021 with the Nottingham Building Society to take a step forward with your future finances. Look for your nearest branch today at thenottingham.com/branches.
So what are you up to these days then?
Just work and kids. Yeah. Kids are playing hockey now. And they're playing football, so that keeps us pretty busy. They're doing that four, sometimes 5 days a week. So that keeps us busy, and then, just working. So.
Do you still get on the ice, or are you done with that now, unless it's a testimonial?
I haven't for about 6 months now, but I was playing. We got a over 30 men's league that we were playing in 6 months, a year or so. It was pretty fun, but I don't know. I think I'm overplaying goalie. I want to start scoring goals. So
after all those years of stopping them.
Yeah. But I tried skating out with over 30, and my skills aren't there. So I have to wait till I turn 40, and I'll play with the older guys.
So you're just developing your next phase of your career, is what you're saying?
Exactly. I'm a late bloomer.
So it's like Linger's trying to get back into the draft today. You're going to be in the draft in about 10 years.
Yeah, you know what? He could probably play somewhere still.
I think any team in the world would have him and just stick him on the power play for 2 minutes at a time.
Yeah, you would think he'd be able to do something.
And he'd still be the top point scorer in the league. Me and Gary have this conversation all the time, and I firmly believe if he came over and just played power play, he'd still top the point scoring charts.
You know what? I wouldn't doubt him.
So it's one of my favorite questions to ask on this, but have you ever played with someone like David Lynch?
I don't think anybody has. No, he's just super unique, like I would hate. I'm glad I never had to play against him. Yeah. Put it that way. I had a funny story. One of my pretty good buddy played for Belfast, and we were talking about Linger one day, and he's like, on the ice when most people are like, "I'll stick you in the face" or whatever, it's they're not going to do it. He goes, with Linger, I don't know. I said, well, why don't you just stay away from him then? He's like, yeah, I probably will. So, the guy's one of a kind. I mean, what else do you say?
That seems to be the common theme. And I've noticed that even players who didn't play with him in Nottingham, everybody has a David Lynch story. Yeah. It's just one of those common themes between everyone. Like when we did Brian McGrath, he was telling stories from him in Providence. He leaves an impression wherever he goes.
Yeah. And you know what? And he's not just a character on the ice, he's a good guy and one of the most loved guys definitely on our team that year. He's just a good dude,
Yeah, I had him on when it was Lacko's testimonial. He came on, and I could tell it took him about 5 minutes to warm up to me, because at first it was all one-word answers. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be short." He's got that look in his eyes. He's little, but when he stares at you, he's looking into your soul.
Oh yeah. He's definitely got a set of crazy eyes on him.
How did you enjoy coming over for Lacko's testimonial then?
Yeah, I always enjoy coming over. Glad to do it again whenever everything clears up. But it's so much fun coming back over, and the only thing that stinks is the flight and the getting off the flight, and then a 3-hour drive from Heathrow. That's horrible. But everything else is great. It's going back and seeing everybody and just kind of seeing where everybody's life has taken them. It's been, I don't know how long it's been now, 5 years or so.
2015 would have been your last one.
Yeah, I can't believe it's saying that long. But, guys that were just little young bucks when I started there are now, married and have kids and stuff. So it's cool to see the progression of life, Well,
if you think 5 years ago is a long time ago, we're going to go back 10 years. Because 10 years ago is when you signed for the Panthers. Now, the funky thing about you signing for Nottingham was that they'd already signed Kevin St. Pierre to come back. And then he decided against going back, and then you were still available. How come you were still available at that time?
I don't even
It's like in
remember
July,
why.
which is quite
Yeah.
late.
I don't even remember. I don't know. I think I was trying to go back to Italy actually, because I really liked, like, the hockey itself was good, but the setups weren't great. But the country, living in the country was awesome. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard anybody go, "Oh, I had a horrible vacation in Italy," like, and I got to do that for eight months. So, it wasn't all roses, but for the most part, I mean, how do you not like eating pizza and drinking wine and pasta? I mean, pretty darn good. So I think I was trying to go back there, maybe just a different place. And if I remember, Corey, I don't know if he called my agent, or I don't remember exactly how it happened. I'm sure he called my agent, and that kind of was that. So I had known Corey a little bit. I played against him, but I think I only played with him for, I don't even know if I actually played with him, to be honest with you. I know he got traded to the team that I either was on, or I don't remember the circumstance. A long time ago. I hardly remember breakfast now, but I definitely remember playing against him. But I would imagine he probably called my agent and, all right, sounds good, let's go. When do I leave? Kind of thing, which is kind of how it happens.
Well, cool. And every person who you speak to always talks about how much of a character Corey is, and how his sense of humor takes guys quite a while to adjust to, because he's very British. What do you remember about your first interactions with him in Nottingham?
It just kind of looked like he was serious all the time and always in a bad mood, but he's really not. But he really wasn't. I mean, maybe at the time, who knows? Maybe Gary came in his office before. I don't know, but gave him a Gary pep talk or something. I don't know, but no, he's actually a really, really good guy, genuine guy. He's helped a lot of the English kids, and he's done a great job with that. He's very, he'll take his time, and he'll stay out and practice an hour and a half after working with these guys. He did a lot with Farms and Rob and Stevie and just overall good guy. I'm glad I met him. I'm glad I played for him for so long, and I have nothing but good things to say.
And your first proper game in Nottingham was a game against Belfast. It's a crazy game that went to a shootout. What do you remember about that first game, like getting to the arena for the first proper game day and things like that? It was live on Sky as well, if I remember.
Well, once I got there and saw the rink, I was very happy I signed there. Especially some of the places I played the year before in Italy. But it was great. I mean, how do you not like playing in front of, on a bad night, 5,000 people? I mean, that's pretty darn good for a minor league setup. And, and the place was packed, like playing Sheffield. And I mean, it was awesome. It was great fans, and it makes it a lot easier playing when you got people cheering, whether it's for you or against you, it doesn't matter. Just get you fired up.
And how much are you told about that rivalry with Sheffield before you get there? Or is it when you get there that Corey makes that very clear that this is the games you have to win?
Yeah, it's when you get there, because, I mean, you can tell me whatever you want. I don't, who's Sheffield? I never even heard of the place, so, but, once you get there and you experience it and see, like, oh, okay, this is pretty fun. And, it was a lot of fun playing those guys. It kind of, playing them so often was kind of the,
takes away from it.
Challenge Cup. Yeah, it takes a little bit away from it, but it's always fun no matter where you play there or in Nottingham. It was, there's 8,000-9,000 people and great atmosphere and teams going after each other.
And in that first year, it was kind of a weird year, because the team was so good. It's one of probably the toughest Panthers teams that's ever existed, with guys like Leppy was on that team, Alex Penn is on that team, Rob Bellamy comes in. And then all this leads to is this big incident in Coventry, which is probably the first big incident of the year.
Yeah.
Now, I think that one of the burning questions is, what did you say to Brad Cruickshank?
I know, and I said absolutely nothing. I swear on my life. all I did was look at him, and I don't know the whole, nobody will ever get the whole story of what happened. But I remember, I can't remember who it was, but somebody hit their goalie once or twice, and then he was already getting kicked out of the game. So I'm sure Tomo just kind of gave him a look, and he was like, well, I'm already out anyway. Might as well do something, But no, I didn't say anything because I really, there's definitely a need for fighting in hockey, but I don't like stuff like that. I know fans go crazy for it, but I hate it. I think it's terrible for the game. It gives it a bad look. But there's definitely need for fighting and stepping up for your teammates, and it keeps the game a little safer. That's 100%. I don't think. Well, people will argue that, but I won't. But I don't like dropping the gloves right off the face-off. That does nothing.
Whereas a guy like Leppy will do it to stand up for someone. Like he can play and drop the gloves. Whereas
absolutely, and that's what's nice about the game now is you can't just sit on the bench for a minute, earn a paycheck, go out and fight. Play a minute, go out, fight, sit on the bench for 59 minutes. You can't have guys like that anymore, and I like that part of the new hockey, if you want to call it that way.
Yeah. And then one of the big things that happened because of that game is that Davy Graham left and Rick Strachan came in as the assistant coach. What did Strax bring to that locker room?
There's another absolute beauty. Strax is the same thing. Such a good dude. Short, feisty. Never would want to fight him in a back alley. That's for sure. He just brought a little grit. He's doesn't really. I don't know, can I swear on this?
Yeah.
Okay. He doesn't really take any shit from anyone. And he brought that grit to us, and him and Corey really complimented himself because Corey was a finesse guy, and Strax was the opposite of that. He's a get it out, hit a guy, and change. So I think they complemented each other really well.
And one of the weird things that year was that team, if I remember right, would always win. It beat Sheffield, it beat Belfast. But when you went to Newcastle, which was an interesting rink to go to, you go to Hull, that's where it had come unstuck. What do you think? Yeah. What do you think caused that? Obviously, Whitley Bay was not a fun place to go anyway.
No, I almost went home after my first visit to Newcastle. I was like, it's time to get a real job from playing at a rink like this. Or a real job, but whatever, you know what I'm saying. Because it's a pretty funny story. Greener tells it the best, but we're sitting there and they had two locker rooms. They're both small dungeon dumps, and I went. The one was underneath the stands, and so I dropped my stuff off. Started warming up and just going through my game day routine, and I walk in and there's Vinny the Viper and a little kid that's going to be the mascot for the night with his mom, like getting him dressed. And I'm like 30-year-old man in my underwear and a t-shirt, and this lady's just hanging out. I'm like, what's going on here? And then, don't even get started playing in that rink. That was.
Well, the paint. I remember the paint at center ice didn't go all the way to the sides. Well,
they didn't have the if you watch Zamboni before they go out, they run like an ice chipper along the edge. Well, they didn't have that, so it was like playing in a funnel almost, because the puck would go on the boards and then it wouldn't stay on the boards. It would kind of funnel back to the middle a little bit, and then they didn't even have like a sound system. I know I'm going to exaggerate this a little bit for the story, but it was like they had like an old school boombox just taped up in the rafters and just hit and play and stop. So it was. I'm sorry if this is your rink, anybody listening, but the place is horrible. I'm sorry.
So outside of Sheffield, were there any road like rinks you like to visit?
Well, obviously going to Belfast is fun because
everyone says that for some reason.
The team's good. The town is awesome. We had a ton of traveling fans. They had a good crowd. It was always fun playing them. No,
so
not really.
You got places like Fife and Coventry where it's smaller and it's a bit more hostile, where people are on top of you.
Yeah.
And Cardiff, when you were here, had the horrible tent that you had to go to.
Yeah, Cardiff was a nightmare to play in. in that rink. One, it was, just horrible, bad ice, bad locker room. And then their team just,
built for it.
They built their team for it. And, getting up Sunday morning and going all the way to Cardiff, I'm glad I wasn't getting hit. I couldn't imagine some of the guys, that took a beating on Saturday had to get up and do it all over again in that little, it was like playing in a little pinball game. But it was fun playing Cardiff, but not fun playing in that rink. Fife was tough too. It was fun playing in Fife, but the rink, same thing. I'm glad I didn't have to get hit on those boards. It was like harder than concrete, those boards.
You got Edinburgh, which is like a Olympic swimming pool, from where I get told.
Yeah, Edinburgh was tough because, one, obviously there's no fans there, and it's tough. Especially, it seemed like we always played there on a Sunday when we did the 3-on-3s, and so that it's hard. Any driver and somebody's mom in the stands, and same thing. It was, bad rink, but yeah, what are you gonna do?
Well, you must have fell in love with something about the Elite League because you kept coming back.
Well, I loved the guys. The guys the core group of guys we had were just awesome. Guys I still talk to. I actually was texting with Jordan Fox last night. I haven't seen him since Lacos I haven't seen him, but just texting with those guys and Franny once in a while. And, we had actually maybe like 2 months ago, we had a Zoom call with like 8 of us, Guy and Stevie and, who else was on it? Goody.
Well, that sounds like something we need to put on our YouTube channel, if I'm being honest.
Oh yeah, it was a nightmare trying to get everybody one person to talk and 7 listen, but no, I loved it over there. Nottingham was great, just a perfect sized town, big enough that it had everything you wanted, but not so big that you lose yourself. You're just another person walking around, and the rink was amazing. The rivalries were fun, and the league only got better and better every year that I was there. So just, a couple bad rinks is my only complaint, really.
I mean, you mentioned the guys, and how important, just let everyone know how important those British players are to that locker room, because they're the ones that welcome the imports in. People like David Clark, Steve Lee, Goody, even though he's not a player. He is so important to that room. Oh, absolutely. And the most underrated guy in a locker room is always the equipment guy, because he's everything. Even, the trainer too, like Poundy, but those guys are not only they got to do their job, but they got to listen to guys bitch and complain about everything. And then therapist.
Yeah, exactly. And Corey's being an idiot today, or whatever, Oh, sorry, I'm getting another call on. There we go. Yeah, it was huge. Everybody knows, Clarky's just a great guy, wonderful human being. Stevie was a young pup when I got there, but he developed into, I think he was captain, wasn't he, before he left?
Yeah, he had a year as captain, yeah.
So that shows you something. And Rob everybody knows Rob's Rob. Just what a character.
And then the Myers as well, Danny and Matthew.
Danny and Matthew. I mean, Matthew, good Lord. They only created one of those guys. What a great guy. And Danny was a great first captain. Still try to talk to him as much as possible. Thank God for Facebook and some things, Who else were British guys? Greener.
Well, you and him had a partnership for 5 years.
Yeah, love Greener. All those guys were, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but all great guys and guys, you can just pick right up with right when if we had a testimonial tomorrow and I was flying in, it would be like we saw each other the night before. So great relationships and something, like I said, I always cherish my time there. And
I've heard many a tale of how you weren't a fan of training per se, not your favorite activity. But
well, as you can tell now, I haven't hit the gym much since I've been done playing. But
you were very much a game day guy, weren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, some guys like the gym, some guys like the on ice part better. I always liked the on ice a little bit better. Probably part of the reason why I didn't make it. But yeah,
I
I mean,
had Jay Galbraith on the other day, and he's exactly the same.
yeah, Jade didn't love the gym much either. I'm not taking a dig at you, Jade, but you like the gym about as much as I did. Yeah, there's, what are you going to do? I don't like to work out.
Well, practice must have been a nightmare for you as well, with guys like David Beauregard and Jay Galbraith and Clarkey lining up his one-timers for you.
Yeah, well, we made sure we did one-timers on Greener. Sorry, Greener.
Did you ever fall for Jade's 2 moves, or did you just get out of the way and just let him do it?
He that guy, man, what a set of hands on that guy. No, I mean, it's hard to stop. Best I can say. Same with Bo. I mean, Bo had an unbelievable breakaway move too, and in tight. I mean, there's not too many guys I've played with or against that are as good as he was, from a foot outside the net.
And that year, you do end up winning a double. You win the Challenge Cup. I think you won it in Belfast, which must have been pretty cool to win. Was it in Belfast you won it that year? I can never. The only thing I can always remember from that year is the playoffs, because it was an incredible playoffs weekend.
Yeah, that was great, because that was my first experience of that. Guys were like,
it's unique.
I was pretty. To be honest with you, I was pretty bummed when I got there, and they're like, "No, we don't do play. We do 2 games, and then we play 2 games in one, a semi and a final." And I'm like, "What? That's not hockey." But once we got there, I mean, what an awesome atmosphere that is with all the fans, and it's such a good setup. So much fun having everybody either cheer for you or cheer against you, even other teams and stuff, which mostly we got cheered against, but that's all right.
But and you weren't supposed to win that playoff weekend either, that first one, because you had to go against Sheffield, who were the league champions, and then you had to go against Cardiff, who had set all kinds of records leading up to it.
Well, you know what they say, you just need a good goalie in playoffs. That's all you need.
Well, it's a good job you saved that penalty that Leppy gave away.
Yeah. It was great experience going out in the balcony after with everybody cheering. I mean, that was so cool. I really wish my kids were around and could have seen some of that stuff and been able to experience some of the things that I got to.
And that final, it's so back and forth. What's going through because I think you ended up facing about 40 odd shots in that final. What's going through your mind in that game?
You just keep stopping the puck, and hopefully, knew we'd score. Just keep stopping the puck. That's all you can do. You just, if you get scored on, you just got to start over and forget about it. And that's what the best goalies can do. And just keep your team around, and hopefully they start hitting the back of the net. And
one thing I remember from that year, and I don't know if it was just based on Panthers fans' reactions, but there's a lot of reaction that you were robbed of the Netminder of the Year award. And I know hockey players don't play the sport for personal accolades, but did that motivate you going forward into the next few years?
I mean, not one specific thing. If anybody tells you they don't care about winning an MVP or something, like they really do. It's not if I had a championship or an MVP, absolutely, I'd take the championship 1,000 times out of 1,000. But if you think you deserve it and you don't get it, it does light a little fire under you. And, if it doesn't, you're probably not playing for the right reasons. We didn't make a ton of money. I mean, they still don't. So you're playing to win. And, none of us ex-players are retired hanging out on the golf course every day. Maybe Linger, but no. But we didn't make a ton of money, so it was about winning and doing well, and that's kind of what always drove me was definitely winning, but then I always wanted to be the best, definitely the best goalie, let alone best player in the league. And
then, did you think that when hockey is quite a nomadic sport, players move around all the time? Did you ever think that when you first got to Nottingham, you'd end up making a home there for 5 years?
No, not really. Not at all. I just thought I'd be 1 year and then go somewhere else. Because, that's pretty much how it works. Unless you're under an NHL contract or you have some certain tie to the area or something. It rarely happens where people play for so long in one spot, unless you're obviously, like I said, the NHL or something. But no, I definitely didn't. I thought I'd be there for a year and, go somewhere else and experience another country. That's kind of how I set out a little bit, was, let's see the world a little bit. But then, I started talking to Gary, and I was like, well, she was my fiance maybe at the time. She kind of wanted to come back. She liked it. She only came and visited my first year, and then she wanted to spend a year. And I was like, all right, well, everything's kind of working out. I'll just stay for one more year. And then we just didn't leave.
And that second year is kind of when Corey started to put that core of imports together. Like Benny came in, that's when Franny joined. And him and like Geared stay there for 2 more years as well. That's when something was really starting to build and you could feel it then.
Yeah, I mean, talk about like a glue guy like Benny, just same thing. If anybody ever says anything bad about that guy, then the guy that said the bad things an a-hole. Benny, he's what a great guy, what a great character, super hardworking guy. He'd do anything a coach would ask him. Play first line, play fourth line, play a minute, play the whole game. He'll do whatever the coach says, and that was honestly, him and Franny were probably Corey's most 2 underrated signings that worked out to, just for great signings.
And then obviously added into that locker room comes Jordan Fox, who I know you became, obviously like you mentioned, you became great friends with Jordan. What did he bring to that room?
Oh, I mean, what didn't he? He's like one of my favorite humans ever. Just like really didn't care about anything, but he did. He cared, but like portrayed it off like, whatever. But just a great leader. Same kind of thing. He'd do anything. He'd go in. He could hit. He could score. He could play defense. Just couldn't score on me. But good thing he was on my team. That's why he kept signing, because he was going to sign somewhere else. But then he probably thought like, I'm going to face him a couple times. No, just like I don't want to sound like a broken record, but just a great guy. I don't know what else I can say about him.
But that year as well, you would have won the league if it wasn't for an incredible Belfast Giants team. They only lost 7 games all year, but you managed to hand it to them in the cup, and then it comes through to another playoff weekend, and it's completely different from the last one because it comes down to that 2-0 game against Cardiff. It's Cardiff again, but this time it's only 2-0. That must have been for a goalie, and I kind of guess that's what you live for, those tight games as it goes on.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, nobody wants to play in it. I mean, I shouldn't say nobody, but there's times you want to play in a 7-1 game, but for the most part, you want to play in tight games, especially championship games, a 1-0 game. I remember one year was a high shootout. One year was like a 1-0 or 2-0, like you said. I can't remember which was which, but yeah, I'll take the 1-0 game over the 6-5 game anytime.
Well,
for goalie.
That second playoff, you had Hull in the first game on the Saturday, and you won like 10-3 or something. And then the next day it goes to that 2-0 game. And can you believe that they left Bo that wide open in the slot with like 7 minutes to go?
No, I would have put 2 guys on him.
So then it rolls around into the big year, which is the year everyone is always interested in, which is 2012-13. And at this point, you must have been feeling like you were building some kind of legacy in Nottingham.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you could feel we were getting closer and closer, and it's just crazy that this team has only won once in whatever it's been, 50 years or whatever. It's just unbelievable to me that that's the case. But you could feel things. We were getting so close, and honestly, after that second year, I really didn't want to go anywhere else. We were building something. Guys were coming back. I've mentioned a couple of times how much how well I got along with everybody and enjoyed everybody. We didn't just go home after practice and see you tomorrow. We went to lunch. We hung out at each other's houses. We made dinner rotations. Just a great time in life.
That's the key thing. Whenever you talk to anyone who played in those teams, it's always about how close it was and how guys were doing it, not for themselves, but for the other guy in the room. Like when I spoke to Jordan, he was saying that they wanted to win the league because they wanted to win it for Clarkey because he played for so long and not won it. That was kind of
exactly.
That shows how close everybody was.
Exactly. Obviously I wanted to win it for myself, but I also wanted to win it for, the guys that had been here for a long time. At that point, Corey had been there for a long time. Clarkey had been there for years. The fans. I mean, I don't need the fans to cheer for me now, but so I'm not sucking up to them, but we really wanted to win it for fans too, and sticking to a couple people around the league that always kind of rubbed it in everybody's faces, and there was a lot of motivation, but definitely winning it for the guys together, that was definitely number one.
And there are a couple of big like storyline moments in that year. The first one is that Guy Lepin comes back and Anthony Stewart joins the team, and then they kind of brought that thing that was missing at that point, a bit of extra muscle and toughness that would let people like Linger go out and do what he wants to do. And it must have been nice to have Leppy back in front of you.
Oh, absolutely. I love Guy. That's kind of what those guys do. They give the superstars a little bit of room, just that much more room to do their thing out there, and they don't have to worry about guys hammering them, or he's going to come and say hi to you. So that's why those guys are crucial.
Then a guy like Anthony Stewart, who comes straight from the NHL, it could have been really easy for him to big league it. From everything you hear, he was just one of the guys in that room. He just fit in just seamlessly. Yeah,
he did. He wasn't there long, but yeah, he fit in, and he was trying to do his thing, stay in shape, work on some things, and that's what he did. I think he accomplished that. He got to come over for Europe for a couple months, and go back when it was time.
And then one of the biggest things that I completely just skipped over is that in the off season, you have this big move in British ice hockey circles that Danny Myers leaves, Jordan Fox takes the captaincy, and Jonathan Weaver comes in. Did that change the locker room at all? Because when I spoke to Benny, he said it was just a different part of a jigsaw puzzle. It wasn't anything against Danny. He was a good player, but it was just like it changed the dynamic on the ice with the offensive defenseman rather than the proper defenseman sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely did change something. I was totally against Danny leaving because I love having Danny in front of me.
You're not the first guy to say that.
But it worked out, and it's unfortunate it had to work out that way without Danny. But bringing in Weaves, another, hate to say it again, but another awesome guy that just
all too nice is what you're saying.
I know. When I get together with these guys, we don't say anything nice to each other, so I got to do it now. He brought in another dimension. Weaves was so good on the point and great in our zone, and he just brought a little more experience, and it was a good move. It worked out. Just wish it would have worked out with Danny. That's kind of my only kind of regret there.
But Danny kept scoring in Nottingham for Sheffield as well.
Yeah.
And then the next big thing that happens is that Corey gets hurt and has to go behind the bench. Was there a difference between Corey the player? Is there a difference between Corey the player coach and Corey the coach? Because you obviously get a different perspective being stood on the bench as opposed to being a player on there.
Yeah, I mean, he had more time to sit back and actually watch the game and figure things out instead of catching his breath because he put himself out for every situation, So, I think, honestly, I know he didn't want to go out that way, but I honestly think that was the right move, and I think credit to him for being able to be like, okay, is this what you guys really want? Okay, I'll do it, and like I said, it obviously worked out great. But, tough way to end your career. Same with mine. Definitely not the way I wanted to go out. But like I said, credit to him for doing, that's what a team player does. And he was a team player.
And that's when Jordan obviously stepped back onto defense. He must have given you a few nightmares at times when he went on this jaunt forward.
I thought once I was getting Corey off, I was going to have a lot more defense, and then they put Jordan back there, and I'm like, well, there goes that. So, but no, he did a great job. Same thing, you know, what a team player. Instead of okay, I'll go play defense if that's what it takes to help us out. And you know, he did do a great job. He had a couple questionable tactics, but they worked. They obviously worked out.
Well, it's like when he went on that goal he scored against Sheffield. I'm sure at one point you were like, "Oh God, please pass this," instead of you going through the middle.
Yeah. You know, I didn't really enjoy his dangling in the defensive zone very much, but I don't know. The guy's he's got decent hands, so it worked out more than it didn't.
And one of the things that people take delight in telling me is that Corey's final game was he came back to play one game against Edinburgh. And this game against Edinburgh kind of changed everything. Is the one you lost in December 2-1 at home, but you had like 70 shots or something. And Corey was a -2, and then Jordan comes out afterwards and says, "This is unacceptable. This can't happen."
Well, I don't think any of us thought it was acceptable. Yeah, I mean, in that, you know, things were so tight still in that.
And Panthers in December has always been the hot topic, is that in December it always goes wrong in Nottingham.
Yeah, exactly. And now that we had some guys that had been there for a little bit, we knew we had to keep the ship tight, and we just couldn't let things snowball. You couldn't lose 2 games in a row where it was like it felt like you weren't, but it felt like you were out of the playoff or the championship race if you lost 2 games in a row.
And the next big addition is Kelsey Wilson. Now, there's a guy who set his stall out very early about what he was about with the incident in Sheffield.
Yeah, well, nobody's going to mess around when he was out there. I mean, he's a big boy and he's a scary boy, you know. He showed him right. You know, it took him, obviously, I think he got suspended.
Gary got him 3 games.
3 games. Well, everybody kind of saw that and they're like, well, I don't think I'm going to mess with that guy, you know. And same thing, it kind of opened things up, and you know, he's a tough cookie, that guy.
The guy who could play as well. It wasn't like he was bringing in a goon. It was bringing in like a guy like Leppy who could play the game as well.
Absolutely, and you know, that's like I said earlier. Those are the guys that you need. You can't just have a guy sit on the bench for 59 minutes a game and go out and fight one time and then poof. You know, that's just not how things work. And yeah, he scored some big goals for us and you know, big hits and got the boys going, and can't say enough about him either.
Well, then to add to this list of great guys, how much of a team player was David Beauregard to come back to that team as a spare import?
Yeah, Beau's love for hockey is unbelievable. He just loves it. And he loved his time in Nottingham. And he just wanted to get back. He's like, I don't care. I just want to come back. And having him back was so awesome. He was my first roommate in Nottingham. So we got along really well and did a lot of things together. And so it was so nice to have him back. And you add a score, and the same thing. He had, of all the goals he scored, he had a huge, I can't believe I remember this, but he had a huge block shot, and I think it was the playoffs or something. Just a huge block shot at the end, like totally laid himself out. Huge block shot, and was a real crucial part of the game. And so, you know, you just can't say enough about guys like that.
Well, it also spoke to, because I've heard tales of a road trip that didn't happen because Beau was on a poker. Now, the statute of limitations has gone on this, so you can talk about it as much as you like or not.
I don't know what you're talking about. It snowed 2 inches, and it was dangerous for us to drive.
I've heard all these stories about these creative photos that were taken and sent back to Gary and things like that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I don't know how much of the story's been told, but there's a lot of moving parts, and I can't believe it happened.
Yeah, because Leppy made me ask Beau about it.
Did he answer?
A little bit. Guy wouldn't answer much of it when I had Guy on here. He was like you. He still out. The weather was really bad.
Yeah, the weather was really bad. You know, we just didn't want to put ourselves in danger.
Which is absolutely more than fair. But
You know, our bus
they're almost the moments you remember more, aren't they? Because that's the team. That's the team coming together for something so ridiculous, but so
exactly.
memorable.
I mean, I honestly I remember every single detail of that story because it's so outrageous.
When Guy told me, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I can't remember who called me in the morning or texted me or something, but he's like, "Hey, we can't play this game today because the weather conditions are horrible outside." I'm like, "Okay." They don't look that bad to me, but okay. I'm like, "What's going on?" "You don't want to go to the game today." I'm like, okay. And then kind of just snowballed from there.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that was something. We went sledding and got drunk instead. So
That's much better than a trip up to Edinburgh.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I forgot about that until you just said something. But yeah, what an awesome story. If Bo ever wants to tell all the details, he can tell it. I'll let him do it. But
that's a real welcome to the Elite League moment.
Yeah. Well, it was such a fun day though. Like I still remember what we did during the day too, because it was so much fun. Getting back to, how well we got along. I think there was like 8 or 10 of us that went. Can't remember what the name of the park is. It's down Mansfield Road.
Oh,
No, it wasn't Walton. It's down Mansfield. Even if you say it, I won't remember the name, I don't think. But it's down Mansfield Road, just outside of Sherwood. I can't remember. But anyways, we went there and we had little flasks hidden in our jackets and we went sledding for about 4 or 5 hours.
And then talking about flasks getting drunk and things, the first trophy you win that year is the league, and you win it in Belfast. What a city to win a championship in, especially a championship of that magnitude.
Yeah, and what a tough game to play the next day.
Well, Jordan told me he had 2 shifts and told Corey he couldn't play anymore. So.
I know. I see that's the weird thing is like, we all went out. Obviously, I mean, we went right back home and had protein shakes and ate a good meal, got ready for the game the next day. But no, I mean, we were out till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and then had to play a game. And those guys were all Belfast. I mean, was, ready to go.
Angry.
And we had a lot of guys that were under the weather.
I did green to start that second game.
Yeah, I told Corey under no circumstances am I playing today.
Oh dear.
I said Guy will play goalie. If Greener gets hurt, Guy will play goalie. He loves trying to suit up.
I'd love to see him in your pads and stuff because that's all that would be available.
Yeah. I don't think he'd be going down much.
Do you remember anything about that game, or is it just all about the night afterwards?
I remember the ending, and then
Galley's goal.
Was it Galley and Franny scored, and I think Franny scored the empty netter, didn't he?
Yeah, Gallivan. There's another underrated player as well.
Oh, absolutely. He was a huge piece. Same kind of guy. If you put him on the first line on the power play, he's happy. If you put him on the third line, he would go out and be a checker and block shots and ultimate team guy, and just the same thing. Just another great guy, and he actually lived right across the hall from. We had one year it was me, him, Foxy, and I think Benny.
It's a good group.
And we all lived in the same house. They had it renovated into apartments, and so we hung out a lot.
And then I've heard the stories of after the entire weekend that obviously you had a shorter training week coming up and things like that. So like Jordan missed his flight home with Galley and stuff like that. So what was your journey home like after that Belfast? Did you go with the team? Did you stay for a bit? Did you get lost on the way back like Jordan and Patrick?
Oh, I think no. They went to
Dublin or something.
Yeah, they went to Dublin. No, I didn't go on that trip. Pretty sure my wife was pretty heavily pregnant at the time. No, we had already had a baby. I had a newborn baby at home.
Because that's when you had that cool thing where you had the 3 goalie shutout with you, Greener, and Gospel.
Yeah.
Which was a pretty cool moment.
Absolutely. Yeah, so no, I didn't take the side trip.
Because after that, it was kind of like a whirlwind championship tour after that.
Yeah,
you do that, you win the Challenge Cup, then he goes to the playoffs again. And the Challenge Cup was a bit weird because the final was like after the season had finished, but in between the playoffs.
Yeah, it was like all sandwiched together in like 10 days. I don't know, like 10 days or 2 weeks or something. It felt like we played just big game, you know, and I do remember it being really close. I can't remember if it was really close to the playoffs or just like a couple days after the league or not, but I remember it being really close.
And then you almost didn't make that playoff weekend because you went up to 5 and you came back with a 2-goal deficit.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You had to play the rest of the game at home because the glass broke up there as well.
Well, we had a lot of close calls in championship game, you know, like the home series.
Yeah, the year before with Benny's overtime goal.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of close calls. I mean, it would have been so horrible if we won the league and the Challenge Cup and then not even qualified for playoff weekend. I mean, that would have been embarrassing. So luckily we pulled that one out.
Then going into that playoff weekend, is that when you were all talking about we've got a real chance to this is like history that we can make if we go through this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've won 2, you got to win 3. So, you know, it's good to be greedy sometimes, and we were definitely greedy.
And then when Lacko's goal went in off the back of the net and off Murphy's back, you must have thought that destiny was on your side.
Yeah. I mean, you need, you know, obviously you need to have a good team, but you definitely need some luck along the way. And I think we got the luck when we needed it, and Lady Luck was on our side.
And when Belfast take that penalty in overtime and you see Eric Werner, David Ling, David Clark, and Jordan Fox go out, were you thinking then, this is it, they're going to do this?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to stop that group. Yeah, I don't remember the specifics on that part, but yeah, that's a tough group to stop there.
Well, and with Jordan getting the fight, Jordan's final touch in Nottingham is the game-winning goal.
Oh, nice. I got to go back and watch some game film, I think.
That one's not on our YouTube channel yet. The other 2 are. That one's not yet.
Okay.
That one's not yet. But then mentioning Eric Werner, I spoke to him on this, and he said you were instrumental in getting him to Nottingham because he was this close to going to Belfast.
Yeah, well, me and his brother are really good friends, and we actually went to high school together, and I knew Eric obviously from being the little brother, and I had heard he was coming over, and I'm like, listen, you're not going anywhere but here. He's like, well, Belfast, you know. I'm like, you're not going to Belfast. You're coming here. Tell me what you need, and I'll get it from Corey, and then you're coming here. And so luckily it worked out. Thank God it worked out, because what a great player.
Well, you talk about the almost the perfect defenseman who never made a mistake.
I mean, he's just so smooth with the puck and had his little shimmy shake move, and you know, guy was unbelievable on breakaways. You know,
that shootout on Boxing Day shootout.
Yeah, like what kind of defenseman is like, hey, you're one of your best shootout guys? You know, it just doesn't happen very often. And he definitely was. So yeah, he was, you know, just another piece of the puzzle, and things just worked out great.
That shootout against Sheffield on, I think it was the 26th or the 27th. I can't remember which way around it was, but that shootout, I think it was actually the 26th. But what's going through your head in that? Because that was like a clinic of shootout goals on each side.
I don't know. What was the score of it?
Well, Eric went 3 for 3, so it went 9 rounds.
Did I give up a lot of goals, or did I have anything saved?
You saved the important one.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I mean, historically, I wasn't great on shootouts. I didn't like.
It only kept going because Franny kept missing.
Ah, way to go, Franny. He was really good on breakaways too. He had his little backhand slip at 5-hole move. I can remember moves, but I can't remember specific games.
Well, Eric never had that move. He had that. He just glided in slowly, stopped, and then just picked his spot. It just so unassuming.
I don't know how he did it either, because he would do it on me all the time in practice and score on me too, and I knew it was coming. Like you said, it wasn't anything special, but it just worked. I don't know. It's crazy. It worked in games, and it worked on me all the time in practice.
It was like Jordan had that one where he'd shake his shoulders and he wouldn't even shoot. He'd just let the puck just roll in. And I think that was the most disrespectful goal I've ever seen scored. Is when you just let a puck just roll in and you don't even shoot it.
Yeah, I've had a couple scored on me that I just kind of turned back and watched, but it's definitely embarrassing. But Jordy never could do that on me.
So after you win all these trophies, you've got, what is it, 2, 4, 7 trophies in 3 years. What was it that brought you back again? Was it the enticement of playing in the Continental Cup?
No, that really didn't have anything to do with it. At that point, we had one kid, and we were pretty happy with our lives in Nottingham at that point. My wife had made a lot of good friends. Like I said, I had made a lot of good friends. We were comfortable. We had a new baby, no family, so it was going to be hard to go to another country that we didn't speak English. You can do it, but why do it if you don't have to? That's kind of the way we looked at it. And plus I loved it there. And so why change it up? The grass isn't always greener. And I liked where I was at. She liked where we were at. And so it was kind of made that decision at that point. Like, this is probably where I'm going to finish up.
And then at some point during that year, you must have thought, what else can go wrong? Because I've never known a season with more injuries, players coming and going, all kinds, like everything that didn't go wrong the year before went wrong that year.
Yeah, our karma. We got our karma back on that one.
Because everyone left as well. That was the thing. You had there was a big turnover in players.
Yeah, well, when you win a championship, everybody thinks they deserve a raise, and you can only, whatever our budget is, who knows, or the salary cap.
The famous Elite League salary cap.
Yeah, exactly. That nobody has ever seen.
Or knows if you ask them.
Yeah, everybody wants a raise, and rightly so. Everybody thinks they were an instrumental part of the team, and they were. Everybody did their thing, and that's just kind of the way things happen. There's a lot of turnover in minor league hockey too, so it stinks. It's too bad we couldn't keep the group together for longer, but we had a good run.
But there was a miracle in that season, if you can call it that. The Challenge Cup win was incredible. This is the big comeback against Belfast.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. I don't know
because it's a midweek. I think it was raining. It was a horrible night out, but the crowd still came in, and you had to make up a 3-goal deficit or whatever it was. Obviously Benny's playing with a broken hand. Franny's just come back from a torn groin or something. They're warrioring through that whole thing. Do you remember going into that game? What was the mentality going into that game? Because obviously you come back from being hurt as well.
I can't remember if it was this year or I can't remember. We had another comeback like that in a Challenge Cup or the playoff or something. But Corey had texted everybody, because everybody obviously was pretty down. And then Corey had sent a text out. This is one of the best moves Corey ever did. I don't know if it triggered people like it did me, but he broke down all our games and was like, listen, we've scored 5 goals or whatever we needed, X amount of times this year. It was something, and it was like, oh, we really have. Oh, we can do this, and it was, like I said, I can't remember if it was that game or one other game that we were way behind going into the second leg, but that kind of was like light bulb moment, and everybody said, they're like, oh yeah, we can do that. And we went out and same thing, things got to line up in your favor, and everything did. We worked hard. We did what we had to do, and I'm sure we got a break or two along the way, and off we went.
And being on the right side of it might skew your view on this at some point, but where do you stand on shootouts deciding championships?
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. I hate it. I don't like shootouts.
How did you find the aggregate thing as well?
Oh, that was ridiculous too. I didn't like that. It's just not things that we grew up, no sports we play over here do anything like that.
Well, it's the same as the league being the priority as well. That's completely different for so many guys to come over and experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard to get guys to grasp that at first, like it starts to, obviously after a month or two, it starts to, every game's important. It's not like, at home, every game's important, but if you lose a game, in October, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't really, it matters, but it doesn't. You just got to come back the next night and play better. But it's just every game's so important in the Elite League that it's hard to get guys to understand that right away.
Then getting back to that shootout, Peter Callis scores and then starts celebrating like he's already won it when in fact Belfast have one more shot. Because there's a character, Peter Callis.
That guy's crazy. Crazy Pete.
A well-earned nickname from what I understand.
Oh, yeah. What a crazy guy. Yeah, he's funny. Yeah, I can – that part – it's funny. I do remember some things, I guess, because I do remember him going by the bench and celebrating. Maybe I just saw it on a video or something, but, yeah, I remember him going by the bench and celebrating like that. Like, whoa, hold on, Pete. Pump the brakes here a little bit.
Because Craig Peacock had some good success against you in shootouts.
Yeah, he was good. He had a good I can't remember. Yeah.
He always used to block aside on you. Like, he used to come across and it was kind of like
yeah. I finally figured it took me about 3 years to figure 3.5 years to figure him out, but finally I got him figured out how to kind of bait him into doing what I wanted. But yeah, he had a great move too. He had a good move. Jeff Mason had scored a lot for whatever reason. He kind of had a move like Eric did. Just I don't know why it worked, but it just did.
It's those guys that can just slow it down. It's like Linger just slows everything down to his level, and no one else is on the same time frame, so it just messes everything up.
It's got to be just mess with timing or whatever. It's got to be something like that, something silly like that.
Yeah, voodoo. And then that's the last championship you win in Nottingham. So there is another year, and we'll just get into that quickly in a minute. But that must have been a pretty sweet one, given everything that had gone wrong that year.
Yeah, it was a nice, just after the success we've had the first 3 years, you kind of go in thinking, hey, I'm going to win at least one no matter what, and the final 2 years weren't, they definitely weren't. Years 2 and 3 were definitely the best, and 4 and 5 were, especially the last one was, it was a tough year, and finally came back, and then to get hurt again right at the end, and it's just sucked. That's the way it went out.
Well, you say it's getting hurt. There's like then you've all got these different goalie partners. You got Neil Conway, Matthias Modig coming in. You got Greeners still there all the way through it. How did you find working with the other netminders and stuff? So obviously they were playing when you were hurt most. When you were fit and healthy, you were the number one.
Yeah, it's a weird dynamic with a goalie. Obviously, I wanted them to do really well because I wanted our team to stay in it. But at the same time, like, oh, maybe we win tonight 7-6. It's just kind of the nature of it. You want the team to win, but I want my spot back, and I'm going to get my spot back.
Well, it's when you're in a room full of everyone in that room is an alpha male. That's the thing.
Exactly, and there's only you can only play one goalie, so. That's the hard part, It's not like, well, this forward came in, he's really good. He kind of took some of my minutes away, but I'm still playing 20 minutes a game. Goalie, you sit your butt on the bench and watch. Or in my case, it would have been up in the stands.
Doing commentary with Gary on the DVD.
Yeah, exactly. If that's not motivation to get back on the ice, I don't know what is.
You're great in those games. It's so funny listening to you and Gary on that commentary.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's not – I wasn't – yeah, whatever. It was what it was. But
then you've got the CHL in that last year, though, which must have been pretty special to play.
It was a cool experience.
Well, I've heard about these bus rides to Lulea and Luco and things.
Yeah, that was horrendous. I mean, some of the logistics were a nightmare. I mean, I don't know how I should do it, but I definitely didn't want to fly to Finland and then fly home for one game and then fly back to Sweden for one game and whatnot. But yeah, that bus ride was a nightmare.
Through the forest.
Through the literally, it was like driving a pine forest. And then we had to play at whatever it was, 12 or 1 o'clock the next day. And shit, I think we were down 5-0 after the first period. Like they were hands down better than us. We didn't really have a chance to win that game anyway. But we, it was just, we were flat-footed and they just put on a clinic.
But the Panthers did leave their mark on that tournament in a midweek game at home against Hamburg.
Yeah, I believe it was Hamburg. Yeah, that was awesome. And we played the Finnish. I can't remember what the name of the Finnish team was, but
I think it was is it Luko?
Luko, yeah, Luko Rauma or something. Yeah. And we played them really, really tight.
Was that the one where it was like 2-2 after the first period? It was like really close. Because I remember, I think that was the year that when Stevie Lee was like the top point scorer through the whole thing, and he had that special jersey on.
Or the gold helmet or whatever it was.
That was it. Talk about a target.
Yeah, exactly. Guy scores 2 goals a year, and he's a leading scorer. Sorry, Stevie, not a knock, but that wasn't your game, goal scorer. Yeah, I mean, we played well at home.
But to get that win against Hamburg is special because that's laying them up. First British team to win a game in the CHL.
Yeah, that was cool. We had fun. It was a great experience, that tournament, getting to play in. I'd never played in – no, I had – sorry. I'd never played in Germany or been to Germany before, so that was cool. I'd been to Finland and Sweden before, but it's still, different rink, different part of the country, cool to see. Actually, one of my goalie partners in college was from Rauma, so it was kind of cool to see. He was always – talk it up and everything, and it was kind of cool to see where he actually was from, and so it was a good experience.
Now, when you go to Germany, I understand that there are a lot of Panthers fans that went out to Germany as well.
Yeah,
because you all came out on the ice after the game to clap them and things. That was the last one that you had.
Yeah, that's like what's something that's really special about the Panthers. Like, such a good traveling crowd and people that just generally love hockey and the Panthers. And, like I said, we'd have more people in Edinburgh on a Sunday than Edinburgh would have. So that was cool. And
did that level of support surprise you?
Yeah.
Initially.
I mean, yeah. Because I really had never experienced anything like that in my life. I mean, growing up, you got your parents and stuff in the stands, and in college, it wasn't really like that because it just wasn't. And yeah, it's definitely a unique type of thing, and it's cool to see, and it's great.
And with all the events that Gary arranges and puts on and things, you do gain a closeness with the fan base, don't you? Like, you do develop relationships with certain fans who you talk to and you see all the time. Imagine even the fans in the corners when you're in net, that you would, when you go for your little skate, you always see the same people, sort of thing.
Yeah. It was cool. You do get to meet some people and develop relationships over time. And there's still a couple fans that I talk to, on Facebook here and there. And we actually had a couple that they were my sponsor every single year. They actually came over and visited us in Florida for a little while. Cool. So that was cool to see. And, yeah, it's just kind of like friendship sometimes. You see these people that you knew, and you can pick up a conversation, and so I mean, those events are great. They're great for the fans and to get to know the players, and it gets excitement in the team, and that's how you get more butts in the seats.
Well, it's things like this that we started doing this year. You've got it's the world we live in now, that people want to get to know the person behind the helmet and the mask, sort of thing. And then they identify them with them even more, and that's the world we live in these days.
Yeah, I mean, social media. I mean, it's good and bad. I mean, it'll make you go crazy if you sit there and read the right things. But
it's very easy to go down those rabbit holes as well.
Yeah, they're everywhere. But the nice part of it is from a fan's perspective, is yes, you do kind of get maybe a little insight into what your favorite player eats for lunch, or what likes to do, or something that you would have never got when I was a kid growing up. And Steve Yzerman was my favorite player. I didn't know anything about him except that he was number 19 and played for the Red Wings. That's really all I knew about him. And nowadays kids can see so much.
So when you were growing
good or bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you were growing up, did you not always want to be a goalie? Or did you, or like, if he's your favourite player, I'm guessing that you at one point wanted to be an outskater.
No, I was always, once I learned to skate, I don't remember how or why I got in net, but the first time, but I never got out of it after that. No, he's just, I don't know, he's just an unbelievable player. My favorite goalie growing up was a guy, Patrick Waugh, everybody's heard of. But Steve Eisman played for the Red Wings, and I got to watch him. You know, I watched every single Red Wings game when I was a kid, and so he was just, you know, they were both my favorite player, but Steve Eisman was a local guy. Well, not a local guy, but played for my team his entire career. So
you had a bit of Patrick Waugh in you, with your bit fiery at times, with some officiating decisions and things.
Yeah, well, that's all in the game. You gotta play the refs a little bit. Sometimes you yell at them. Sometimes you gotta pat them on the back and say, "Hey, good job." But other times you need to, maybe put them in their place a little bit. And I thought I was pretty good at that. So
Well, you could always get away with stuff with Murray Hansen because he was a goalie. He was a goalie's best friend. He was.
Yeah, I don't know if he was a Panther's best friend though.
No, that is very true. That is very true. He's the one who gave Leppy that 10-minute misconduct in a playoff final for a clean hit.
Yeah. 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 You know, you do what you do. You do what you got to do with the refs sometimes. And like I said, sometimes they need a pat on the back. Yeah. Sometimes they need a pat on the back. Sometimes they need to be reminded. The fans are here to watch me, not you.
I can think of one that especially applies to how people remain nameless on here for that.
No, you know what, though? Most of
it's a tough gig.
It is a tough gig. I would never want to do it. I did it for like a month when I was a kid, and I had enough of it after that. I don't know how those guys do that. I had a pretty good relationship with Hicksy, oh man, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Darnell, yeah. Those guys were good dudes, and for the most part, they would listen and be like, "Okay, did I really miss that? Yeah. Okay, I'll be better." They were good guys, and they were good refs, and if you wanted to talk to them, they would usually listen.
Well, you can always tell that the netminders do have that relationship with officials because they're always talking to officials. Like, a face-off, a ref will always come and say something to the goalie when they get the puck out of your hand and things like that. So you do develop that relationship with them.
Oh, absolutely. You always got to keep the linesman on your side, so you don't want them making a bad call.
Well, offsides are always interesting.
Yeah.
So when you look back at your time in Nottingham, it's obviously a very special 5 years that Panthers fans look on fondly. And if we take the trophies out of it, because they're the obvious answer to this, what do you look back on with the most fondness, would you say?
Oh, definitely. Hands down, easy question. Relationships. Like I mentioned earlier, there was 8 of us on a Zoom call just on a random Tuesday or something. I was at work and they were all at home. I was sitting at work at the fire station. We got our own little bunk room so I just went in there, closed the door, and they were all drinking and I was stone sober. But
when I had Eric Werner on here, I was talking to him for about half an hour. Then he goes, "Oh yeah, I'm actually at work right now." I was like, "What? What's going on?"
Yeah, well, sometimes you get a job that you can sneak away at, but I'm very fortunate. That's why I
do this.
Yeah. I landed a very, very great gig post-hockey, and I'm extremely happy where I landed and the profession I got into. It's a lot of locker room mentality type thing.
Again, isn't it?
Exactly. So it's not the same, but it's pretty darn close.
Well, it's as close as you can get without being in that environment again.
Exactly, but we got an HR department now instead of just
Gary and Sarah.
Gary and Sarah, yeah. So sometimes you got to watch what you say, but so you don't have quite the same freedoms. But yeah, it's about as close as you can get, and I love it. I've been doing it for a little under 4 years now, and it's been awesome.
That's good. That's great too. Now, I can't thank you enough for all of your time today. This has been an absolute blast. But I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit to finish this.
Uh-oh.
Now, I'm going to ask you for a story that just makes you laugh, like the Beauregard poker story. If there's one that I can just put you on the spot to end this on, to give everyone something to smile about.
Oh, jeez.
I love putting people on the spot because it always leads to this like really awkward pause for about a minute. It's my favorite thing.
Oh, he's gonna be mad when I tell him this, but a certain guy, I won't say his name. A certain guy had his two favorite things to do when he got drunk was to cook a pizza and take a bath. Well, one night he fell asleep in the bath with the pizza cooking, and he was a neighbor of mine, and luckily everybody found everything. His wife found everything before anything bad happened. But yeah, I remember hearing the story the next day, and I was like, oh my God, thank God you're still there.
I thought you were going to say this is where your firefighting career started. You're going to bust the door down.
No, thank God I didn't have to do that. But yeah, I can't. When he told us the story the next morning, I was just dying laughing. Everybody that's on the team knows exactly who it is, but I don't want to say his name out just in case.
I might have to clip this out and just put it on Twitter and just put "if you know, you know" and see who likes it.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, there's a million more, but most of it involves things I can't say. So, well, unfortunately,
that's one of the things like you mentioned the David Lynch story. Whenever I say to people, "Give us your favorite David Lynch story," I always go the one that you can safely tell. Because that has to be the preface all the time for
it. Yeah, exactly. You could say kind of what you want, but not exactly what you want.
Yeah, just tiptoe around the issue, like the poker story. Just get enough information out there for people to make their conclusions.
Piece it together, person by person.
But like I say, I can't thank you enough for your time today. This has been awesome, and I hope when everything is back to normal, we get to see you in Nottingham again.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, I had a lot of fun too. Yeah, hopefully they put together, I don't know, some kind of reunion or something. There you go. Anything. I'm down to come back. So hopefully it happens sooner rather than later, because my body can't really handle playing goalie much longer. So
let's put you on defense with Strax then.
Yeah, there you go. Me and Strax, great D partner. Nobody will score on us.
No, if that's not going to drive fans into the seats, I don't know what will.
For what matters most this Christmas. Plan ahead for 2021 with the Nottingham Building Society to take a step forward with your future finances. Look for your nearest branch today at thenottingham.com/branches.